Hello and welcome to the Hopecast with Rachael Flick. Rachael is a speaker, inspirational author, and an overcomer. As Rachael is walking through her own journey of grief, she's challenging others to persevere and overcome their own circumstances. Find out more at rachelflick.com. Here now is your host, Rachael Flick.
Hey friends, welcome to this week's episode of the Hopecast with Rachael Flick. I really hope that the episodes before this are bringing value to your life. I hope that you can connect with me and my story, and that my story brings hope and healing for you and your story. And that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm here. And so I just want to tell you that I'm praying for you and I value you as listeners. And I hope that this is content that is helpful. So in that same spirit, I am doing a question and answer today. And I just want to encourage you that if you think that you have a question that I might be able to connect with you on in the future, you can reach out to me at contact@rachelflick.com is my email address. And you can also DM me on many or all, maybe not all, there's a lot of social media platforms out there. And I will be looking for those and plug them in. And I'm also on a hashtag called Dear Rach. So hashtag D as in dog, EARRACH. So the first half of my name. And I would love to catch up with you on those questions in the future for more episodes to come. So this question is from another widow, and I see a lot of questions that are along these lines for widows. And my heart just goes out to Jamie, because I see how much loneliness affects myself and widows like myself. And it's such a life change to go from having a companion and a partner. And so I totally understand why she would be asking this question. I have been seeing this man since early November. I need to break it off, but each time I try, he gets upset and begs me to give it more time. I am trying, but just don't have the feelings for him that he does for me. Any suggestions on what to do? It is nice to have someone to go out to eat with. We take turns paying, but I need more than that. I just don't feel anything for him. Thanks for suggestions. So Jamie, I just want to say to you that I see your heart and I see how it feels to not have that person to do life with. And that's what you're saying, is it's so nice to have someone to go out with, to have dinner with. And yet you're realizing that this person is not a good long-term connection for you, or your chapter 2, as a lot of widows call remarriage after death. I'm concerned about the way that he's manipulating you when he gets upset and begs you to give it more time. I think intuitively you're recognizing that someone who is using manipulation in order to keep you in a relationship is not a good fit for you. I don't know what your previous marriage looked like, but a lot of times we as widows struggle because we were in love and we were happy in our marriages and neither of us chose to leave. And so when you look at a relationship from that perspective, we do have high standards, which is healthy and good. And you're experiencing this person who is not in that healthy place that you were likely or potentially in when you lost your husband. So that's a red flag for me, and I hope that it is for you too. When we love people, we allow them to love us in return freely, and we don't demand their behavior or their time when we are asking for space or a different level of commitment. And so a man that truly loves you and cares for you is going to respect your boundaries and what you're going to ask of him. And I just want to encourage you also in the loneliness that's so powerful for us as widows, that you go and find other things, that you really allow your heart to be reborn. This was a process for me that I had to spend some time and get creative with, because I had so wrapped my identity around being Micah's wife that when I no longer had that title or that time or position, I didn't exactly know who I was when he died. And so I spent time creating and writing things down and making lists. I have a Pinterest board that I call Happy Heart. And I just put anything on there that connected with me, that brought me joy, that felt good to my body, like the ocean and swimming and exercise and horseback riding and just remembering all the things that I love. And so you're going to need something that is a legitimate substitute for your emotional needs. And building up your community of friends, finding other widows. I absolutely love widows. I think they're some of the most compassionate, empathetic people on the planet because they've experienced deep loss. So go and find some friends and find a group of hiking buddies, find a bridge club, find people who enjoy activities that you enjoy, and go build relationships with them so that people like the man that you've been seeing will not have such a powerful pull on your heart because your needs have gone unmet for so long. I'm really wishing you the best, Jamie, and I pray and hope that you are able to healthfully disconnect this relationship. Okay, friends, this is from the wife of a police officer. And I'm sure you can imagine, but law enforcement officer spouses have some unique challenges, especially in the way that we have to handle schedules and time. And so this police officer's wife is having some conflicts about how she and her husband are managing the time in their marriage. I need some advice. My husband and I have been having some problems and seem to be bickering and fighting about a lot lately. I am exhausted. He is exhausted. But when we have our good days, they are so good. He works swing shifts. And for those of you not in the shift work world, those are usually somewhere in the late afternoon to the early morning. Like that might be like 3 p.m. to a 1 a.m. or a 5 p.m. to a 3 a.m., just to give you a little bit of perspective. So he works swing shifts and recently has been wanting to hang out with his buddies after work. Now, I don't mind when he hangs out with his friends, but it really bothers me that he wants to do it after work and doesn't get home until around 2 a.m. I just feel like it's disrespectful that he comes home so late. He used to work the night shift and would hang out with his buddies after and come home around 10 a.m. But now I feel like it's different since it's so late. He insists that it's not different at all. Am I wrong for being upset with him about this? I completely understand the decompressing part of his job, and him hanging out with his work buddies helps, but I don't understand why they can't just do it on his next day off during the day. His 3 buddies all live together, so they just hang out at their house, but I still don't think it's okay for him to be out late. Am I wrong? Be completely honest. I'm also hurt because I never get to decompress and hang out with girlfriends. The times I do, he holds it against me for a long time. I feel like I'm giving him so much freedom and getting nothing in return. Now he's claiming I'm unhappy and need to deal with him coming home late because that's just how it's going to be. So this challenge of time and being able to share and get your needs met in a law enforcement family is such a challenge across the board. I talk about it a lot, how it's an expectation that our spouses will miss important events, that they'll say that they're going to be home at a certain time and then get caught up in overtime and be unable to, make the dinner commitment, or dinner's cold and you put it away and they come later. And sometimes that's significantly later. And many times in law enforcement families, the spouse that is home carries a large weight of making everything work because the job of a police officer is so physically, mentally, and emotionally demanding. And so when she's saying he's exhausted and I'm exhausted, that's just like normal for a police family. But then also 2020 has been so hard on our law enforcement community. It's been incredibly stressful. I was reading a blog of a fellow police officer's wife the other day, and she was saying that the mark of a successful shift with her husband was just that he had come home alive. That level of stress takes a huge toll on families, on marriages, on individuals. And so the exhaustion is so real. And I'm also seeing a tremendous pattern of the emotional value of depletion, feeling depleted during COVID. We have a much higher level of expectation on us overall. There has been a greater quantity of fear. There has been a loss of regular systems and things that make us comfortable. How we go to the grocery store. If I offer to shake someone's hand, are they going to accept it or are they going to act weird about it? We're using a lot of energy in stuff that is usually automated in our daily lives. And so if you're feeling exhausted, you are not alone. And that is due in a large part to the world around us. And then when you add in the stressors for law enforcement and shift work, where a lot of times the body is not sleeping as well as it normally would due to circadian rhythms and not getting the same amount of daylight as people who work day shift, that's going to add to the load. So let's dig into this a little bit. It's bothering her that he is not getting home until 2 a.m. It sounds like he used to do this when he worked night shift. Same thing he'd been doing before. But because it was night shift, he was coming home around 10 a.m. after having decompressed with his coworkers. And so that didn't feel late to her. That felt like midday. So when we're married to shift workers, we have to remember that their nights and their days are not in alignment with ours. Micah and I would always talk about, what is your weekend? Like Wednesday is my Friday or Tuesday is my Saturday, because he might have, working 12s. He might have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. And so we would have to orient our whole life around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as a weekend when the rest of the world was, nose to the grindstone and in the 9 to 5. So we can't layer our expectation of time on people who do shift work, because their body and their experiences and the time that they're awake don't line up with what the rest of the world is doing during the day at all. So I just want to kind of bring that incongruence to light, that it was fine, like what he was doing was fine when he was coming home to you at 10 a.m. and not 2 a.m. Another thing that I know that a lot of law enforcement spouses, and especially women, struggle with when their husbands are working night shift is just a sense of fear. I really struggled when Micah went to nights about, was I safe? Were the kids safe? And that was the first time that I had been home alone with the twins at night on a regular basis. And I heard every bump and rattle and sigh that our house made, and was just making up a lot of scenarios in my mind about, a home invasion or, whatever might have crawled into my mind during those late hours of the night. And I'm wondering if any of that is true for our law enforcement officer's wife here, who is saying that she's uncomfortable with this. She also mentioned the word disrespectful. I feel like it's disrespectful. He comes home so late. And so I think we need to talk about when we are having quality priority time with our spouses and having expectation conversations. And that's true for everyone. That applies across the board and not just to law enforcement families. We need to be really careful that we don't expect other people in our lives to read our minds. That's a logical fallacy, and people are going to fail you every time when you think that they're going to be able to know your needs, when most of the time, let's be honest, we don't even know our own needs. So if we haven't taken the time to articulate them to the people in our lives who can meet them, we're setting our relationships and ourselves and our spouses up for failure. And the truth is that if our spouse is a person of good character and quality, they want to meet our needs. And so they are trying, and we need to help them do that by articulating that clearly and sitting down and having conversations. So saying, how much time do we want to be spending together as a married couple without our children? She did mention that they have kids, and a side note on the question. And so that time is really hard to get. And I'm not sure what time he would be coming home. You said you don't like that he comes home at 2 a.m. I'm not sure what time he would be coming home if he wasn't hanging out with his work friends, and if that would be quality time for you. Would you already be asleep? Would you stay awake for him so that you all could hang out and have some time to decompress together? I'm just really hearing a time deficit, which is true across the board. In everything that we're doing right now, it's so easy to feel a scarcity mentality about time. And so we're going to have to carve that out and make that happen. Later on in the question, you say, I'm also hurt because I never get to decompress and hang out with girlfriends. And I'm wondering also if that's maybe where the disrespect comment is coming in, because you feel like it's not 50-50. Now, sometimes we make emotional statements that feel real to us in the time. So it's possible that your husband might have a different side to this story and tell you of times and opportunities when you have been out with your girlfriends, but because you're hurting right now and you're both exhausted, you're not remembering that. So it might be helpful to actually write down in that expectations conversation, I want this much time with you, and I want this much time, one night every other week with girlfriends, and you get one night every other week with your guy friends. I don't know also if he's doing this every single night after work. I would say as a married person, families can't sustain that level of time. If it's every single day after work that he needs several hours to not be with his family, law enforcement families are short on time to begin with, and you're tired, and there's a lot of factors working against you. So let's just make sure that hubby's expectations of time with his friend are also realistic. But I wonder if you lined that out and saw each other kind of going back and forth where you were both meeting each other's needs, if that might feel less disrespectful to you. And then another thing that's coming to my mind is the concept of the 5 love languages. The 5 love languages is a book written by Gary Chapman. And the 5 love languages are physical touch, quality time, acts of service, gifts, and words of affirmation. So with your high focus around time, I'm wondering if one of your top love languages is quality time and you're not getting your needs met. And so that's become a pain point for you and a place of friction in your marriage. And so I'm going to recommend to you all listening, and hopefully the person asking the question gets to hear this, and go check out that book and go figure out what fills your bucket and what gets your needs met so that you can clearly articulate those to your spouse, set him up for success, help him help you. And so I don't think it's fair that he's claiming that you're unhappy and just need to deal with him coming home late, because that's just how it's going to be. Marriage is all about compromise. Compromise doesn't mean one person surrendering and giving up their perspective. It means that both people sit down and prioritize what's important to them, and then you have give and take about when and how those needs get met, but not that one person completely gives up on their perspective. So I think if we can really work around all of this and see the deeper priorities for you about time, potentially about being afraid of being home alone at night with the kids, the exhaustion, just recognize that everything feels harder and worse when you're tired. There's an awesome acronym called HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Stop, halt. You're not supposed to make decisions when you are in any of those places of hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And you're telling us you're both very tired. So to gauge the positivity factor of your marriage when you are so depleted, you're going to see the glass less than half empty most of the time, and just recognizing how much you need some self-care and getting your needs met. So I really hope and pray for your marriage that you guys can get the resources that you need, and that information can help you guys to grow closer together and have some important conversations. Okay, this is another question from a widow. Hopefully those of you who are not widowed can still benefit from some of these concepts. That's what I'm wanting that for you, is that there's just wisdom here, and that even if you're not specifically in these situations, that you can get some jewels and some treasures out of these places that are specifically for people going through the loss of a spouse. I have a question. When my late husband was still living, and since the kids were first born all the way up until the end of his life, I was caring for all 3 of them a lot. I was always calm and peaceful. That's awesome, Mama. I'm so impressed by just that one statement. That's incredible that you were caring for your husband and your children through chronic illness, and you were calm and peaceful. And therefore, my kids were too. My twins were 9 months old. Okay, this is a mama of multiples. I feel you. My twins were 9 months old when he was diagnosed with brain cancer, and he passed away when they were 22 months old. They're almost 3 now. Nowadays, I seem to lose patience and get angry. I hate being this way. I've accepted the death as much as anybody could in a year, and I'm trying to move forward. I just don't know how to get back to that calm, truly joyful place. Has anyone actually done it and can speak to how they finally made the transition back? I feel like my kids are suffering. It's not like it's really bad for most of the day. I'm okay, but my point is I'm not like I was before. I don't know how to change back. Is it even possible having gone through this? So tremendous love and compassion to you, friend. mom of multiples, young children in the toddler phase. Your husband got brain cancer. You were his caretaker for all three of them. You are Wonder Woman. I am clapping in applause for you. I won't do it so that my producer doesn't have to edit that out of clapping into the microphone. But I am so impressed. Just that. That's all I need to know. The fact that you said that you were able to stay calm and peaceful through your husband's end of life with brain cancer is absolutely incredible. And now you're saying 22 months old and they're almost 3 now. So that year, like you're saying, it's almost been a year. Like the first year is so incredibly hard. When you lose someone, you have so many grief tasks you have to finalize for the end of their life and make sure that the services are taken care of, and very physical, practical concerns for you and your family, survivor benefits for you and your children. There's just a ton to do. So along with grieving, you're very busy. And then you're telling me you have twins that are less than 3 years old. And personally, as a mom of twins, I thought ages 2 and 3 were really challenging. So I can only imagine what your household looks like right now, because I remember what mine looked like. You said the point was for you that you don't know how to get back to that calm, truly joyful place. And you also said, I feel like my kids are suffering. And I know for me as a mom, that was one of the most, that has been and continues to be one of the most painful places of my grief, is watching my children navigate life without their dad. And that just feels so incredibly unfair to me. And their pain causes me pain. And so I just want to bring that into the light, that our children's suffering causes us to suffer also. And that's absolutely contributing to your grief load. First of all, Mama, like, you are doing an incredible job. Hear me say that. You are doing an incredible job. Getting angry, losing your temper, being stressed, not feeling like you have enough to give. All of those things included, you are doing a wonderful job. And your children are blessed to have you. I can tell just the grace that's in your demeanor by the way that you wrote this question. So I just want to encourage you to ask for help. Ask for people in your family and in your life to come around you, to give you breaks from the kids, to take them on fun outings, to let you sleep, to let you shower, to let you grieve in the ways that you might uniquely need to. You really need to dial back the expectations here. They're completely unrealistic that you're going to have 100% calm, joyful happiness in your home less than a year after your husband died from brain cancer with twin toddlers. Like, that is a Herculean task and experience. So dial that back. I am going to encourage you, if you're not already doing so, to be seeing a therapist. Figure out the things that where you get your needs met, whether that's physical activity and exercise, sunshine. Maybe you can do a little weekend getaway trip if something longer and larger isn't possible. I know that when in my first year of grief, I went to Europe. My friend was working there and I was able to stay with her for a time, short time, 7 to 10 days. But just being out of my environment was so hugely helpful in getting perspective in those early days, weeks, months. And so you have to remember that this is a process. They say that it takes 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years to adjust after the loss of a loved one. And I know the pressure that I put on myself, that I was going to grieve so well that after my first year, I wasn't even going to need any help, or like I would be done. I would be done with my grief journey. And on some level, because there were so many things that were practically to be done for Micah's death and memorials and things like that, I didn't even stop like moving and going until after 18 months. I was finishing up my licensure as a counselor and caring for the kids. We moved 6 months out. We didn't have our own home when Micah died, so we needed to find a new home. We had tremendous practical things that had to be cared for. And so my life didn't even have a level of quiet until into the second year. And that really shook me, that there were some grief waves that were so powerful and intense. And I thought, man, I really thought I did a great job. And I did. I saw therapists and counselors, life coaches. I got massage. I got acupuncture. I exercised. I was in a grief group called Grief Share, which is amazing. I highly recommend that to anyone listening. And would call and ask my friends, hey, I just don't have capacity for dinner with the kids tonight. Can I come and be a vegetable on your couch? I will bring pizza if I just don't have to be alone. And that was my first year. I didn't in any way avoid my grief, but there were just some things that I couldn't do until later. And it hasn't been until this third year that I feel like I'm really getting my feet under me in a new stride. And then when you added COVID to that, that felt like such a unique thing to struggle through when the whole world was struggling with you, which in some ways was comforting that everybody was grieving. It wasn't just me. We had all lost our normal in COVID. And so, yes, can you journey forward into happiness and peace and having more days that are good than days that are bad? Yes, that is part of it. If you are honest with your grief and your pain, if you do the work, if you sit with the feelings, if you allow the grief waves to come, the less you fight, the easier you get spit out. And I have this picture where it's like grief is you're in the ocean and you're being tossed around and you're out of control. Like the pain often feels out of control. But the best thing that you can do is just ride the wave until it spits you out. And you come out like with seaweed hanging from your hair and sand in your teeth and your swimsuit, and you're just disoriented. You've been thrown around so hard by the pain and emotions of your grief. But the less you resist, the easier it is to you. So I just want to encourage you to do that, to just lean into those places of pain, get support, ask for help, have realistic expectations for yourself. Possibly if you can afford daycare or preschool for the twins, even consider enrolling them from anywhere to 1 to 5 days a week to give yourself sometimes to process and heal and have some better hours with them. Really legitimately, if you have a good hour with your child while you're grieving, that you've really done a good thing. And I think that as moms and dads, because we're suffering, we're seeing our children suffer and we're feeling like we're failing, but this is part of it for all of us. And God has a measure of grace. And I just lean into that verse that said, God is the defender of the widow and father to the fatherless. And it's going to make me cry even now because there are so many days when I'm like, Lord, you've promised that you are my defender. And I need you to stand up for me right now because I can't do this by myself. And I need you to bring a provision for my children. And I need you to show them you love them in ways that I don't have capacity to share with them. And he has shown up for me over and over and over again, you guys, in many powerful and meaningful, protective, provisional ways. So many. So I should make an episode just to count them for you guys, just to the proof of the goodness of God despite our pain. So Mama, you are doing incredible. Hear me encourage you. Have realistic expectations. Get breaks from your kids. Ask for help. And yes, this is possible. You can eventually journey back into a life that is more good than hard. And you will have incredible skills and blessings to give other people because of the work that you have done. Thanks everybody for another episode joining me here on the Hopecast with Dear Rach. I hope that you reach out through contact@rachelflick.com. Send me a DM on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm trying to be as everywhere as I can on social media to connect with you guys and just build a community of people who are healing and have hope and share that hope with each other. I pray that this week is amazing for you and that you are blessed. And I look forward to connecting with you on another episode next week here on the Hopecast with Rachael Flick.
You've been listening to the Hopecast with Rachael Flick. To find out more, go to rachelflick.com. While you're there, you can book Rachael for your next speaking engagement. Her inspiring message will be sure to engage and touch the heart of your audience at your next conference, church event, or business function. Go to rachelflick.com to book her today. While you're online, you can discover more information about all of the platforms that this podcast is on. Also, be sure to click on the social media icons at the top of the page, and you will be directed to Rachael's social media sites. If you listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, we would appreciate if you would subscribe and leave us a review. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Hopecast with Rachael Flick.